Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
Effective stacks in this hand. I cover the main villain.
Okay.
So effective stack is $2,500.
Okay.
So small blind, big blind, 5-10. Under the gun makes it $35.
Okay.
Middle position calls, cutoff calls. I'm on the button with Jack Deuce of clubs.
Okay.
Which I call, which I already realized I shouldn't be. But
yeah, that's not in my calling range.
Right. No, I know. It's not normally in mine, but a mixture of frustration of being card dead and wanting to see a flop.
I mean, I'll tell you, it's funny. Occasionally, if the game is super loose passive, I might over limp in with like Queen X suited. Rarely do I call raises with them, although it's, once in a great while if somebody opens under the gun and there's like six people that call and you're on the button with like a Queen X suited, I can sort of see incomplete. It's interesting because at Hollywood Park, in a Mississippi straddle game where you can straddle from any position, I was actually talking to Key about this, another coach on Crush Live Poker. If you're like, for example, in the cutoff and somebody Mississippi straddles the button and it goes in order and a bunch of people limp in, so like 7 people have limped in front of you and you're in the cutoff, you should be over limping unbelievably wide because you're getting 9 or 10 to 1. If you're completing for a small raise in the big blind because you're getting odds, why wouldn't you over limp the cutoff, especially if the guy to your left isn't going to raise? So I would over limp with Jack Deuce of clubs in that scenario, getting 9 or 10 to 1, but usually I don't call raises with those hands. But anyways, okay, you make the call.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is, right? So pot's 155.
Okay.
Flop comes down Jack 6 Deuce Rainbow.
Okay.
And the rainbow, there is no club there.
Okay.
So check.
Yep.
And the cutoff bet's $80.
So the cutoff bet's 80 into 155. Okay.
Yep. I raise.
So you've got so you have top and bottom pair here, right?
Exactly.
Okay. This is interesting one because I don't know what was the deal with the under the gun guy? Was he a young guy or was he a rec player or what?
He was an older Asian guy.
Okay.
Who the only hand I'd played in the previous 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
I had doubled. I'd felted him aces over kings.
The reason why I asked that is because if the under the gun guy was one of these Euro guys, you sound like a Euro guy, but I defined all players from not Canada and the U.S. Euros, even the ones from South America. So that's a kind of a running joke. But if the guy from under the gun was some sort of one of these Euro pro guys and he checked, I actually might be more apt to flat the cutoff bet here because a lot of those guys are trying to play optimal-ish, and they sometimes will have over pairs in this spot. But if you raise, this guy doesn't sound like that at all.
This guy doesn't. He doesn't even know what optimal is.
Right. So this guy doesn't sound like that at all. So he probably has nothing. So now I'm just going to try to attack basically the cutoff here. You make it 225. I might make it smaller. I really want to make it look like I just have a kind of a jack here, although you really shouldn't have many two pair here, any two pair, and a lot of people won't just raise a set right away. So actually, it's probably not that bad. It just, I got to get a sense for who the cutoff is. Sometimes I'll raise, sometimes I'll call, depending on how much action I feel like.
The cutoff is a reg that you would probably know because I've seen him there a bunch of times. He was trying to play optimally. I believed at the time that his bet of $80 was simply because he'd seen weakness in the 2 checks ahead of him, and he knew from the previous 2-3 hours that I had barely played a hand.
I mean, I would probably sometimes call here or sometimes make a small raise. You said you raised to 225?
I raised to 225. The two checks both fold.
Right. So everyone folds, yeah.
And the cutoff re-raises to 600.
I mean, you have the best hand here, 100%.
100%.
That's I mean, the thing is,
100.
the thing is that I mean, the only hand you're losing here too is pocket sixes, and I just don't.
Pocket sixes, right?
Yeah. That's why like I sort of like a smaller raise sometimes to like 180 because somebody might spaz here. When you make it 225, it's kind of interesting. But I would probably just put an act on and just call, and then just call down. Or if he makes a huge bet on the turn where you feel like he's just going to commit himself because he picked up a draw, you just jam turn. But I think this is kind of smells like shit here quite a bit.
Right.
And unless you think that, I mean, usually not going to be a dynamic where if you click it back, the guy's going to 4-bet all in with total air. So I would probably just call.
Right, which is exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And my thinking was exactly the same as yours. I figured that very occasionally he's going to show up here with pocket sixes, with a set, and the rest of the time he doesn't have anything.
There is also one set of deuces in here too, also. So there, I mean, there might be 4 sets, but you know, of those 4 sets, I got to tell you, like, for someone to bet 3-bet there, because if I have a set of sixes or a set of deuces and you raise, I don't know if I bet 3-bet all that much. It really depends on the player because I don't think you can be really that much stronger than just a jack. I don't want to scare you away. Although he is out of position, and if he checks and you check behind, that sucks. So I just feel like, yeah, you're going to have the best hand here a lot. So you make the call. Yeah.
I make the call, and the turn comes a 10.
Okay.
Which brings a second heart.
Okay.
On the board.
Yep.
He thinks about it for a little while, and then he checks.
So the pot right now is about 1355, and you guys have like what, maybe
he has
1800?
Approximately another 1900, and I cover him.
Okay, so obviously you're gonna bet here, and the question just is how much. I might make a really, really small bet to try to induce him to do something crazy. I mean, I don't really play hands this way. Like at 5-10, it's just so rare. But this hand is so bizarre right now. It's just
so if he's the kind of player that can be induced, which he was for sure.
Yeah.
Then why not check?
Because here's the thing. Like when you raise the flop and call his 3-bet. And then he checks. I mean, I guess you could say, oh, I'm playing it like a jack for pot control, but I just don't know how often somebody's just going to blindly bet the river all in at the end.
So like we're getting ahead of ourselves,
yeah.
But you're very much on the right track. And to be honest with you, I did check behind. And when I've discussed this like with my poker buddies, my answer was I'm checking for pot control. Number 1, and number 2 to induce, right? So
yeah, but you're definitely not checking for pot control. There's just no way that you don't have the best hand here unless you didn't have the best hand on the flop. It's not like this guy has 3-bet jack 10, and then when he gets on the turn, he decides to check it. So the pot control thing is sort of
only sixes.
Yeah, sixes or deuces. The pot control thing sort of is out the window, but I'm just saying, is there more money to try to bet the turn small to get him induced, like to try to get him to double check raise or check back? The problem with checking back, though, is that like there's no draws on the flop. So your hand really does look like ace jack or king jack, and I just don't know if he's going to blindly bet the river all in at the end. So it goes check, check. What is the river?
River is a 9, an offsuit 9.
Okay.
He shoves.
Well, I mean, the way that you played it, I don't think that there's any. You can't fold because when you check back the turn, like you're saying, I've got ace jack, king jack, and he's going to try to make it look like he's got jack 10, jack 9. Usually, you don't see people like blindly bluff their stacks off, but the way that you played it, there's no way in a million years I'm going to fold.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
I snap called him, and he tapped the table. He showed 6-7 of spades.
6-7 of spades, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I believe he was just completely preying on the fact that I've been card dead for the previous few hours.
I mean, it's sort of interesting though, because if you bet really small on the turn, he might just fold. So maybe you actually did end up playing it, getting the most amount of money at it by checking back the turn. It's just like I said, normally you're not going to see a guy just. It's just a really weird hand, like jack all his money in as a bluff. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.